If you've ever felt like you've done all the work, read all the books, hired the coach, gone to therapy, and you're still stuck in the same patterns, then this episode is going to hit. Because what if the reason that nothing is changing isn't because you're not trying hard enough, but because you're working at the wrong level? Today, I'm joined by Riana Malia, a neuro-somatic practitioner and identity expert who helps high-achieving women finally break patterns that traditional coaching and therapy can't reach. We're talking about what's actually happening in your subconscious, why people pleasing and nice girl patterns are so hard to break, and how to create real lasting change without rehashing your past over and over and over again. Plus, she's walking us through a simple 90-second reset that you can use in real time to shift your state and start showing up differently immediately. So if you're ready to stop spinning and start actually shifting, let's dive in. Hi, Riana. Welcome to the Crush the Rush podcast. I feel like we have been working to have you on the show for maybe a year. It might be the longest, like I call it like pre-podcast dating ever.
I agree.
But I'm so excited to have you here. And one of the things that we ask our guests when they first come on is give us a little peek into what building a life first business means to you right now.
Oh, it's such an honor to get to do the work that I feel called to do, right? So I think for all of us in this space that's really important. So we're doing the work that lights us up, that we're passionate about, that has impact and changes the world. But it's also really important because as entrepreneurs, there's no such thing as like you're off, right?
Yeah.
And it's so important to carve out that time where you are off, and whatever that looks like for you, to be able to just really disconnect and fill your cup and be with friends and be with family. And for me, that means, sometimes building in a slower morning where it's not get up and just like dive in at 8:00. Sometimes that means taking in the summertime, an afternoon where I just go and turn off my phone and I get on the floaty in the pool with my Kindle and I lay in the sun and I read for 3 hours, some fantastic psychological thriller. But really just defining those things for you. Like, we're all different. Some people are morning people or night people. And for one of those things for me is I work in the evenings. I don't do media. I don't do client calls. And the evenings are on weekends. And that for me is just kind of that precious time.
Yeah.
Of really getting to, when I do my year of planning, like I fill life stuff in first and then let everything else fill in around it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the example of slow mornings. And I feel like that when you said that, so my background is very corporate, and the idea of a slow morning, I think until even recently felt like wrong. Like that can't happen, or you're not allowed to do that. And one of the things I've been working on is like, I don't have to jump on my computer right away, or I don't have to do a call at 8 a.m. And it feels very weird and awkward, but it's nice. It's definitely nice to just have a moment before, the day starts. So
and,
I love that.
It doesn't always mean that I fully respect the boundary of no working, but it might mean that I lay in bed with my coffee and do a little scrolling on TikTok and then check Slack and see if my team needs anything and maybe grab my laptop and do some emails, but in my bed. Right. And so I try to do Wednesdays where I don't schedule anything before 10. And it just is, it almost feels like that a midweek, like you wake up and you're like, oh, I have this space to do whatever I feel like doing, whatever that looks like. So
it's interesting that you said 10 because I made a rule at the end of last year, that I would not have any calls before 10 a.m. ever. So my whole calendar is and I feel like I keep pushing it. I'm like, well, what if I did 11? And what if how would I have that time? How would that feel? So I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So I want to dive into sort of the deeper work that you do around emotional and subconscious healing, which I think is business owners and parents and just women in today's society. I don't know if it's becoming a hot topic, but I think people are definitely paying more attention to it. And so I would love to maybe just get your perspective on why this is such an important topic and why sort of the way that we maybe always thought of the traditional methods might not be working now.
Yeah, it's a great question. So when I talk about my work, if we're talking about, if somebody says, what do you do? I say, well, on the surface, I'm a board certified integrative neuro-somatic practitioner and an identity architect for high achieving women, which is a lot of words.
Yeah.
To say that.
You have to explain to us what that means.
Right. But that I work with high capacity, high achieving women who, are not in crisis. They have a wonderful life for the most part, but there are oftentimes parts of their identity that's attached to something that's, maybe 20 years old. Or we are so, as high capacity, high achieving women, we are so used to being able to fix it and solve it and figure it out. And sometimes when something comes up, whether it's around a relationship or it's around, a transition time, and we can't, it feels very confronting. And we're like, okay, well, I can always fix everything. What's the deal? And so being able to understand that it's not so much like, what if it wasn't about doing more? And so that's really critically important, because so often we think, well, let's do more, right? So anytime that we're facing an obstacle or a difficult time or a challenge, we go to the resources that we all know to go to, right? We have a therapist. We talk about it in therapy. We talk about it with our girlfriends. We read the books. We listen to the podcasts. We, do all the things. And all of that is beneficial. However, at a certain point, certain things, the more you actually talk about them, the more it guarantees that you'll never actually move forward and really fully get what you want. So being able to tap into other things, blending of neuroscience and that other 90% of your brain, the unconscious mind, which is really where the magic happens. So I always talk about like the difference. And it's great if you think about it like in our body. Everything from the neck up is our conscious mind. And it's 10%. So we use it all day long. It's our goal setter, right? It's everything we know. It's really where we operate from. But if that's 10%, then everything from the neck down, the rest of our body, the other 90% is our unconscious mind. So if the conscious is the goal setter, the unconscious is the goal getter. It's the operating system. It's the general. But most importantly, in my opinion, it is the literal library of everything we've ever experienced in our entire life, which means everything we've ever felt, everything we've ever said, everything we've ever experienced, stuff that we remember, stuff that we don't, stuff that happened when we were 2 and 5 and 7 and yesterday. Like, it's all held at a cellular level. And that's important because we think about memory being in the brain, and it definitely lives in the circuitry. But we know, science, that memory is cellular. And so when all of that energetic weight is stored in the body and it's not released properly, and when I say properly, specifically, I mean without going back into the story or the event that caused the pain and the drama and the trauma in the first place, we see things like overwhelm and burnout and anxiety and depression and autoimmune disorders and illness and injury and disease, and all these things show up in the body, right? So to be able to understand that we can actually release that and rewire neurology and behavior and strategy, that actually gives you the ability to get what you want instead of just wishing for it and almost getting there and then hitting the burnout and hitting the spiral, is just a really exciting thing. And it doesn't take years. It can take weeks.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Give us a little insight to maybe like how we might be feeling if we need a release, or we maybe need to do something different to sort of release the stored emotions.
Yeah. So if you ever find yourself saying, I want a different story, if you ever find yourself saying, how the F did I end up in this position again? Whether that is in relationship, a money story, a health, whatever it is, like, how did I end up here again? Or if you find yourself saying, I've done so much work, right? I've done so much work. I've done all the mindset work. I've done all this work on myself. Like, and it feels great. And I have this progress and that feels amazing. But then something happens, because life always happens, right? And then rather than even staying in that space of progress, all of a sudden you just revert right back to whatever, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. And any of those feelings is a pretty big indicator that, there's something probably running the show, because 90% of who we are, we picked up between 0 and 7, right? And at that age, then those things anchor in and those become our beliefs. And there's emotion and there's values and there's all these things attached to that. And that becomes the blueprint of our life. And what we don't realize is a lot of that's still running the show. And we wouldn't let a 5-year-old make life decisions for us today.
Yeah.
I just turned 50, which is weird to say. I've been saying I
love that. I'm about to turn 47. So, I mean, I can round up.
Yeah. So, but it's, it's literally amazing when you can figure it out. But again, I want to emphasize, it's not going back to unpack the thing that happened when you were 7 or your father, the thing he said for the 14th time and journal about, like, that's not what we're doing. We actually get to clear it without doing any of that so that it frees up the space for you. So it's kind of like, and I see this a lot with high achieving women where they almost get what they want. And I think it's important to kind of look at the methodology, which is kind of a bigger picture of not necessarily the how we do it. But so my tagline in my life has always been your very best life. Like, I think I own the domain for the last 25 years. I don't do anything with it, but it's always literally been the anchor of who I am. And whether we've been besties for 20 minutes or 20 years, I want you to live your version of your very best life. And if there was 50 of us in a room, we would all have a little bit of a different version of that.
Yeah.
But we can't just go from a failed marriage and a failed business or a bankruptcy and childhood stuff and this and that and the other to just living your very best life, right? And we do all those things, therapy and talking and great, amazing. But we have to clear it before we can create it. And it's really important to understand especially when we talk about story, is when people say, I want a different story, I say, great, then stop telling the old one. Because we have to clear the story to begin with.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
Give us an example, if you're listening, of like what it would be like if you're nodding your head and you're like, yes, I need to tell a different story, or yes, I get to like almost, and then I feel myself going backwards, and you're like, okay, I'm in this category. What can we do to sort of like clear the story or reset or like take a first step to sort of release some of the heaviness that we're carrying?
Yeah, it's a great question. So before we can clear anything, we actually have to get crystal clear. And I think this is a critical piece that's missing. And most people, if you ask them, so tell me about what you want. Tell me about who you are. Tell me about what you want, whether we're talking about relationships or business or life in general. Like, what are your core values? What are your non-negotiables? What are your desires? And people will say, yeah, I totally know what I want, blah, 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 right? But when we really dive in, most people actually don't.
Yeah.
And it's the equivalent of us going out to dinner and sitting down, and the server comes by and says, hi, ladies, what can I get you? And we're like, we're thirsty. Bring us something to drink. And we're going to start with a salad. And then we're going to go into the main and like bring us a fabulous protein and a lovely vegetable. And we're good. And they bring us an iced tea and a Caesar salad and a lovely pork tenderloin with some roasted potatoes. And we got exactly what we ordered. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that what we really wanted was a lovely glass of Pinot and a arugula salad with figs and goat cheese and a beautifully done ribeye and some roasted asparagus, right? So the difference is significant. We got exactly what we ordered and what we asked for, but not what we wanted. And so it's really important to understand what those values are, what those non-negotiables are, what those desires are. So I call that your menu, right? And it's amazing what happens when you have that level of clarity, because all of a sudden now you can make clean yes and clean no decisions. Because when we're in that space where we all have things that we've been through, whether it's relationship or it's a business decision, where we're like, I don't know. Is this the right thing? Is this a good decision? Is this a red flag? Am I being ridiculous? I don't know. I thought I knew, and look how that turned out. So there's that sense of like, not that confidence piece is missing, not really trusting if we know the right decision. So by doing this particular piece and getting that clarity, you get to stay out of that middle, which is where all the drama and friction and noise and decision fatigue comes from, not making values-driven decisions. And so that's kind of the first piece. And then to go back and answer your question of how can you then kind of release it. One of the one of the fastest ways is to actually really start getting super intentional with what you're focused on.
Mm-hmm.
The fastest way to change what's happening in your life. And I call that my Magnet for Miracles experience. So for me, in my business, in my world, my values are love, impact, belief in what's possible, generosity, and being a magnet for miracles. And it's my favorite thing to teach people.
Mm-hmm.
So people in your life, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone you know, that it's kind of the same thing. It never works out for me. I always, every person I meet is whatever, something negative. Every corporate job that I've ever had, my boss hates me. I never find a parking spot. Like whatever it is, it's really powerful to understand that when we talked about that whole unconscious mind thing, every day we think like 65 to 85,000 thoughts.
Yeah.
90% of those thoughts are recycled. Same thoughts we thought yesterday and the day before and in the middle of the night and last month, probably last year. And 75% of those thoughts are negative. And again, so much pushback. My clients are incredible women, but they're like, I've done all that mindset stuff. But what we don't think about or what we don't realize is that the way our brains are wired, we're often thinking about what we don't want, right? I don't want to have all of this stress. I don't want to feel burnt out. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm not valued and cherished. I don't want to be in this financial position, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Well, the unconscious mind can't hear the qualifying don't. It just knows what you're focused on. And it's all that can continue to show up. It's just like giving our car. Well, I have no sense of direction. So I have a navigation system or my Google Maps app always. My family makes fun of me, but it's like giving that direction. You put in an address and it tells you where to go. Our unconscious mind is the exact same. Every time we're thinking about something we don't want, we're giving direction to keep going into that place, right? And so there is it's as simple and complex as actually being able to, over a 72-hour period, be able to actually rewire some of that neurology and flip that focus of what we're focused on and what we're thinking and see how quickly things change in our physical.
Yeah. So give us a little peek to what that might look like.
Okay. So this is a very scientific, very tech-heavy process. You need 2 pieces of paper and a rubber band. Okay. And
I love that.
Yeah. So it requires a lot of investment. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you take 2 pieces of clean paper. And on the top of one, you're going to write away. And on the top of the other, you're going to write toward. Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to imagine that these are walls in a room. So if we're in a room with 4 walls, one to our left, one to our right, one in front of us, and one behind us, one of those walls is going to be your away wall. And your away wall, everything on that wall is everything we don't want. Everything you don't want again, more of, ever. So if you're really visual, you're listening to this and you're really visual, I want you to actually designate, if you're sitting in a room, where your away wall is. So for you, Holly, would it be to your left, to your right, in front of you, or behind you?
To the right. We'll do to the right is away.
Okay, so your
like
away
outside.
wall. Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. So that's your away wall. Your other wall is your toward wall, and on your toward wall is everything you want. Dreams, wishes, goals, magic wand, fairy dust, all the things. So where is your toward wall in your room?
To the left.
Okay, perfect. And it's different for everybody. And also, if you're super visual, I have a lot of clients who will actually tape these on those walls in their office or their bathroom or their bedroom or whatever it is to kind of be that reminder. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually make those lists, fully make those lists in every area of your life, everything you don't want and everything that you do. Step number 1. Then I want you to, if you have an iPhone or a smartphone, I want you to take photos of them. And I want you to either pin them in a note in your notes app or put them in a little album so you can access them easily. And then you're going to put on a rubber band, but it has to be like the snappy kind, not like a scrunchie that we wear to bed at night that's soft. It has to hurt. It has to sting when you snap it because the brain needs the pattern interrupt. Okay.
Okay.
So the point of this is not to say, oh, we're never going to have these thoughts again. We're never going to have doubts and spiraling and all the things. No, we're not giving you a lobotomy. The point is to not stay in it, because it only takes 17 seconds of really holding a thought with emotion with all the senses to either create new neural pathways or reinforce the old ones. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to put that rubber band on. You're going to wear it. First day, you might not snap it very much because you're so used to this is just how we live and how we operate that you might not even notice it. But when you notice that you are, and you might notice it because you feel it in the moment, you might feel yucky in your body, your heart might be racing, you might have a pit in your stomach, you might feel anxious. I want you to snap the rubber band and I want you to think about what was the last thing you were thinking about. And I promise it was something on your away wall list. If you're in that space of feeling like, you're kind of going down a little bit of a spiral. And most people think that by the declaration of, I'm clear, I don't ever want this again, I don't, that is kind of the positive piece, which is, it's the biggest kind of trip up for people because it really is doing the opposite. So throughout the day, you might hardly snap at all the first day. But play full out for 3 days and see what happens. So then the next day, you're going to start snapping more and you're going to start recognizing it more. Like, oh, right. And again, the point is to pull yourself out of it faster. And how you do that and the way that this matters is not only acknowledging what you were thinking about, but replacing it with a better feeling thought. And there's multiple ways to do that. Either, depending on the thing, you could literally just think of the opposite of that and really think about that with all the senses, right? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? Like in the moment as though it is. You can look at something on your toward wall list and do the same thing. Just like really tap into all the senses of what that is the reality. If you can't do that, or you're whatever, you can actually stop and just 30 or 60 seconds of something that you're actually in the moment really grateful for, but not like the Pollyanna, I'm so grateful for my life. Like viscerally grateful for, it's been raining for 4 days and the sun is finally out and oh my God, I'm so grateful to have the sun on my face, or whatever it is, but something really real that's connected in the moment. And if you're still kind of feeling it, I want you to ask yourself, who can I serve in this moment? And it doesn't have to be a big deal, right? It could literally be a thought, a text to a friend, your neighbors bringing a cup of coffee, whatever it is, just something that gets you out of your own head in the service of someone else. Mm-hmm. And the reason this is all so important is frequency, right? Because we don't get what we want, we get who we are. And oftentimes we consciously think that we're hanging out in those higher frequency emotions, joy, gratitude, appreciation, love, kindness. And there's truth to that. Mm-hmm. But unconsciously, we're hanging out in those lower vibe, lower frequency emotions, right? Anger, guilt, shame, doubt, hopelessness, all of those things. And it's kind of like if we are listening to music. So what's your favorite kind of music, Holly?
That's a great question. Well, I like music from like the 70s, which is, I was so crazy, but I love like Led Zeppelin or I have girls who are 12, twin daughters who are 12. So we listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, but like Fleetwood Mac, like I feel like I'm like an old soul when it comes to music.
I love it. And if you had to pick, what's your least favorite genre of music?
Probably like rap, with the exception of like 90s rap.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So I want you to imagine everything that you want for your life. Your health, your wealth, your business, your family, your love, all of it is hanging out up here at this amazing Sirius XM satellite radio station 111, and it's all your favorite songs. All the Fleetwood Mac, all the Led Zeppelin, all the 70s iconic music. And when you're hanging out in these lower, like when you're in that space of like, I don't want everything, this never happens for me, it always happens to me. We're actually hanging out down here at this frequency of the god-awful rap minus 90s rap. And it's so loud and we can't turn it off. We can't even turn it down. And then the question I have for you is, can you hear Fleetwood Mac on this god-awful rap station? Not a chance.
Probably not.
Right? They're not.
Although I would definitely want to change it.
Right. So if we want to hear Fleetwood Mac, we have to we have to change the channel, right? We have to raise the frequency, and this is how we do it. Because otherwise, we're stuck on the rap station. And the way in which we raise that frequency is what we're focused on, what we're thinking about. So as you're going through these 3 days and you're snapping the rubber band and you're replacing it with a better feeling thought, you're raising that frequency, focusing on what you do want instead of what you don't want. And I promise you, in the matter of 3 days, and it's not it's not an arbitrary number, like neuroscience shows that we can actually rewire the neurology in 72 hours, you will start seeing a shift. And I have a lot of people that continue to wear the rubber band a lot after 3 days because it's just such an anchor. But you will start to feel better physically. Your relationships, your business, everything around you will start to shift.
Yeah, I love the rubber band because I feel like, I mean, I've done a decent amount of like EFT work, and I feel like it's like the physical response that's linked to what you're thinking or what you're doing. I feel like that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, so we've done this sort of like reset and maybe we're feeling a little bit better, but I feel like one thing that I notice, and I'm sure you do too, with high achieving women is we sort of get into this like maybe self-sabotaging pattern of like, we get to a certain point and then like we don't cross the finish line, or we tell ourselves stories that like, well, this always happens to me and this is just what it's going to be. Help me unwind that a little bit and maybe give us some tools of how we could like step out of that self-sabotaging movement.
Oh, it's so important. And again, back to our conversation of almost getting what we want and never quite getting there. And I think, to give you, this would be a great time to just like talk about how we do that when we look at how do we actually do that. And it's really kind of this 3 phases: clear, create, and claim. So when we're going to clear something and we're going to get rid of all the stuff that no longer serves you, that's no longer yours to take forward, again, thinking about our identity, because the identity that's gotten us to where we are today actually can't get us to where we're going, right? The next level, the next identity, the next phase, where we aren't self-sabotaging, where we aren't, that fear piece that comes up, because the unconscious mind, that's its job, is to keep us safe and to get resolution. So anytime we get close to that, we all have our own kind of self-drawn borders of comfort. And when we push up against that, the voice in our head gets really loud.
Yeah.
And that's
I love that.
typically when we sabotage, right? Because it's like, fill in the blank. So if we have the clarity, right? And then we got to do that dysfunction detox and get rid of all of that stuff. And quantum time release is a great example of a way that we do that. And so quantum time release is it's just an extraordinary multidimensional technique that's been used for hundreds, probably thousands of years. And it gives us the ability to clear all of that stored energetic weight. So if you think about negative emotion, anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame, and then all those stories and limiting beliefs that have come up along our lifetime, imagine that each one of them has a ribbon. And every time in our life we have something that happens where it's like that significant emotional experience around anger, a marble goes on the ribbon. Sadness, a marble goes on that ribbon, right? All the way. So when something happens today that makes us feel guilt or shame or anger, whatever it is, it's not really about the thing today. It's the 30, 40, 50, 60 years of marbles behind it. That's the charge. That's the gestalt, right? And so when we can release that and clear that, now you have room for what is actually meant for you, what we really do want to achieve in this world, and to be able to get there. It's like our closet, right? Full of stuff that, we have nothing to wear. Or the pantry, like my pantry was so awful. And I think I mentioned earlier, I just turned 50, a little bit of perimenopause, a little ADD, and stuff sometimes piles up around me, even though I love organization, right? But the pantry was a mess. I took everything out. I cleaned it up. I threw away all the expired boxes of pasta and half-open crackers and all the stuff. And I put it back, and it was magical. It felt like Christmas. But it's the same internally. We got to get rid of all the expired, ways of thinking and how we process and those identities that we're attached to that aren't really who we are anymore. So then we kind of figure out, okay, now we've gotten clear and we've gotten rid of all of that neurology and strategy and behavior and story. Who are you? Who are you now, aside from the labels and the titles, like aside from society and the conditioning and the mama and the business owner and the wife and all the things. And then we get to move into the create phase. So now we've cleared all the stuff that is not yours to continue in carrying. So now we get to figure out what's next. And this is where we actually replace all of that neurology and strategy and behavior. When we talked earlier about when people do work for a long time and then they go right back to where they started, it's because it wasn't replaced, right? So much of this work focuses on awareness and clarity, which is so important. It's the foundation for everything. But if we don't give you the skills to go with the knowledge, it's that maddening loop of like, oh, I had all of these ahas. This is amazing. Now I know this, but what the heck do I do with it?
Yeah, 100%.
And then we get to actually put that into play. So we do something magical around looking at the things that you want. We'll call them goals, but we start at the end and reverse engineer backwards. By doing that, what has to happen just before that, just before that, just before that. We get all of the steps. Traditionally, when we say we're going to set a goal by the end of the year, I'm going to do this. What do I have to do? This. Great. We miss like 90% of the steps. So by reverse engineering it and looking at the thing that happens in the second, right before you achieve it, right before you could call me and say, I booked a trip to Italy. How do you know you're there? I got a thing on my phone that said the villa's booked, the flights are booked, and that I want you to, into that experience, into that moment. What do you feel when you see that email? What do you see? Is there noises around you? That's what we install in your timeline so that it ignites the reticular activating system in the brain, which is now laser focused, looking for the people and the experiences and the opportunities and the resources to make sure you achieve that, right? So here's the piece where it kind of, here's what we want, here's how we get it. And then we step into that claim phase, which is where you own, integrate, and embody this new frequency, this new version. And when you own this, you don't need the external, validate me that this is the right thing or the permissions. This is literally where you get to fall in love with yourself again and hold boundaries and communicate your needs and really deepen the richness in all of your relationships. And then we integrate that into your energy, your decisions, your business, your relationships, your life, and you just embody her. So now you get to live, love, and lead from this new frequency, from this identity that matches who you are today, so that you get to stop running all of those old stories and all of those old patterns that keep you ending up in the same situation over and over, where you almost get what you want, but you never quite do.
Yeah, I love this. I also love the pantry example. Real quick, give us a step that will help us clean out the pantry. Like if we're like, okay, we know that we need to clear out some cobwebs, or I keep thinking of what's the Disney movie where it talks about the emotions?
Yes, Inside Out. No.
Yes, that's what I keep thinking of like all the little things that are going on in her brain. Like give us a step of how to clean the pantry out if we need it.
All right, so I'm going to give you two. Back to the whole clarity piece, I'm going to give you all a gift that's going to give you some insight into how you think and how you function. And it's called the Ellie. And we lovingly call her the Ellie because the full name is What's Standing Between You and Extraordinary Love. And I don't want you to get tripped up about, well, I have extraordinary love. I'm married to my best friend. Great. But this also is about self-love. It's about all the things. But really it's about you. And we look at 9 key areas, recognition and impact and attachment and trauma, all these things. And you're going to take the Ellie, and it's 40 questions long. So give yourself a good 10 minutes. And because it is not the what Disney princess are you, right? It's not a 5-question quick quiz. But I'm going to send you a 28-page report that's fully personalized to you. And it's going to show you in all of those 9 areas what might be showing up for you in your life, what might continue to be showing up, the costs for you of staying there, and what you could do right now to actually start moving yourself forward. So insight and information about you that you've never had. Step number 1, go take the Ellie. After that you take the Ellie, then I want you to, let's just try to think of let's just start with one thing. One thing that you could consciously recognize that you start to see that, maybe it's around finishing things. Maybe it's that you have all this evidence that you start something and you don't finish it. So therefore you're a failure, or you just, you don't finish things. And that's So everything that we attach that I am or I do or I don't, again, anchors into absolutely giving those directions to who we are in our unconscious, our subconscious. So I'll use myself for an example around exercise. So I struggle with this because I hate it. I hate it.
I don't love it either, to be fair. I don't know anyone who does really, but
I mean, I have some girlfriends that literally they're like every day they get up, it's their best part of their day, grounds them, gives them energy, keeps them sane. And I'm like, I wish I had a tenth of that. But the truth is I don't. And I'm a high capacity woman. I would say that I'm very emotionally intelligent. I would say that, all of these things, but it doesn't really matter what we know. And my knees have always been bad, but they're hurting now kind of more than ever. I know that if I were to go and do some things, simple things, I could do some stretches that I could actually help myself. Mm-hmm. Why don't I? What is it about this that keeps me in this place, right? And it's small, but and we all have these things in areas of our life. So look at an area of your life where you're like, what's the payoff? I know what to do, which doesn't mean anything, right? Understanding something and clearing it is not the same thing. But look at one area of your life where there might be a story running where you say, well, it doesn't matter because it always ends up this way, or I never do this, or I always do this. And take that one piece. And what would it be like if that story was no longer running the show? What would it be like if it was the opposite of that? Mm-hmm. And spend 5 minutes free writing. And then I want you to say, okay, what would it look like if for today I decided I'm a woman who sets a timer. So I'm going to go do this. After we're done, I'm going to go set a timer for 15 minutes and I'm going to go stretch and I'm going to do something that, so like I am a woman who's decided that I don't want to be in pain anymore in my knees and I'm going to do the things that I need to do. So your version for yourself of that, and start small, start with one thing. And then I'd love to know what it was and how that felt. And then let's do the next thing. Right. But it's a one tiny little thing. Don't make it this huge project that then is more evidence that, you don't finish things. Right. If that's your story.
Yeah, I love that. We're going to put the quiz in the show notes. And I keep going back to cleaning out the pantry because I love a good story to attach the action. And I feel like what's one thing that you can change now? That's just a great example, especially around working out. Yeah. I feel like we could talk about this all day, but I'm going to end with a couple of rapid fire questions. And that is, what are you currently reading or listening to right now?
Oh, okay. So when I turned 50 a couple weeks ago, we went to Maui, which is where I was born. My husband, who is the love of my life, we've been married a little over 2 years, which I never thought would happen for me. But
I love that.
The work that I do, I created for myself first on the other side of a horrible divorce and a crazy situation and all the things. And I read 4 books in 5 days, if that tells you how much we just needed to rest.
Yeah.
So I mostly read fiction when I want to relax, on the floaty. If I'm reading nonfiction, my brain will override it. So I either read really twisty psychological thrillers or beach reads like Elin Hilderbrand and Kristen Hanna.
Yeah.
So, and I actually just finished Elin Hilderbrand's book that she wrote with her daughter called The Academy, which was fabulous.
Oh, I'll have to add that to my list.
Because she retired from her Nantucket writing, or so she says, last year. And she put this book out that came out a few months ago, and they're coming out a next one. But it was, that was fabulous. So that's what I've been reading.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to switch my question because Maui is my absolute favorite place in the whole world. And I joke with my husband that I feel like a different person when I'm there. Something in my body changes. I don't know how to explain it. So I'm curious, what's your favorite thing to do in Maui?
Float in the ocean. Literally.
Even the ocean is different. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just
there's magic on that island. There really is. And I hear you. The minute we get there, it is it's just something shifts. It's your whole DNA changes. But I mean,
Like even talking about it makes me calm. I feel so much calmer right now, just like having this conversation.
It is the best. Being just, and I was trying to film some stuff when I was there, and I was walking into the ocean, and I had my camera and I had a mic on my swimsuit, and I'd never done this before, and I was like, okay, I don't know about you guys, but like everybody has their thing in nature that grounds them. Some people go in the woods, and some people go to the mountains and the snow. And like for me, it always has been and always will be the ocean, especially this ocean. And I'm walking. I'm like, all right, let me just, just kind of, the water was clearer than I've ever seen it. And all of a sudden, this wave came and like this, and the mic went down into the ocean forever. But it was such a funny thing because I was literally saying, all right, I got to remember I have a mic on. I hope this works. And I was just in the magic of the water. But then what was funny is that I was kind of looking for it for a while. But there was like 9 minutes of just the water on the camera because I was just like holding it up, trying to see if I could find it. Yeah. And I put it on the other day. I just had it on and I felt like I was in the ocean. And I'm telling you, I just felt like, oh my God, I guess that's my new meditation. I'm just going to watch.
Yeah.
Like, literally in the water footage.
I love that. Okay. I mean, I feel like there's so much work that all of us can do on our subconscious selves. And I keep going back to what you said about 90% of our body and focusing on maybe things that we haven't thought about before. If people want to learn more about what you do and what you teach, share where they can find you and where they can learn more about what you do.
Absolutely. So the website, of course, is just rianamalia.com. All the socials, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, soon Substack, is all at Riana Malia. And, you can reach out to me in any way. Every single one of those avenues, you can send me a message. You can find the Ellie in the links. Go to the website. Ellie's right there. So really connect in any way that I can support you, any way that I can help kind of move you past this spot that you keep finding yourself stuck in. Be my honor.
Yeah, I love that. I love that the quiz is called Ellie too. I think it's such a cute name.
Yeah,
so
thank
you so much. Thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.